Hi Pre-K! This is our read aloud for today. It's called The Big Orange Splot, and it is written by Daniel Manus Pinkwater. This is one of my favorite books, so I'm really excited to share it with you. Mr. Plumbean lived on a street where all the houses were the same. He liked it that way. So did everybody else on Mr. Plumbean's street. "This is a neat street," they would say. Then, one day, a seagull flew over Mr. Plumbean's house. He was carrying a can of bright orange paint. No one knows why. And he dropped the can, no one knows why, right over Mr. Plumbean's house. Oh no! It made a big orange splot on Mr. Plumbean's house. "Ooh, too bad," everybody said. "Mr. Plumbean will have to paint his house again." "I suppose I will," said Mr. Plumbean. But he didn't paint his house right away. He looked at the big orange splot for a long time, then he went about his business. The neighbors got tired of seeing that big orange spot. Someone said, "Mr. Plumbean, we wish you'd get around to painting your house." "Okay," said Mr. Plumbean. He got some blue paint and some white paint, and that night he got busy. He painted at night because it was cooler. When the paint was gone, the roof was blue, the walls were white, and the big orange splot was still there. Then he got some more paint. He got red paint, yellow paint, green paint, and purple paint. In the morning, the other people on the street came out of their houses. Their houses were all the same. But Mr. Plumbean's house was like a rainbow. It was like a jungle. It was like an explosion. So here's the picture of Mr. Plumbean up on his roof painting. And here's the picture of the street. His house stands out. It's a little bit different now. You can see his house up close. Let's see what they say. There was the big orange spot. And there were little orange spots, there were stripes, there were pictures of elephants and lions and pretty girls and steam shovels. The people said, "Plumbean has popped his cork, flipped his wig, blown his stack, and dropped his stopper." They went away muttering. That day, Mr. Plumbean bought carpenter's tools. That night, he built a tower on top of his roof, and he painted a clock on the tower. So there's his house just with the paint, but he's adding more to it. It's not done yet. The next day, the people said, "Plumbean has gushed his mush, lost his marbles, and slipped his hawser." They decided they would pretend not to notice. That very night, Mr. Plumbean got a truck full of green things. He planted palm trees, baobabs, thorn bushes, onions, and frangipani. In the morning, he bought a hammock and an alligator. When the other people came out of their houses, they saw Mr. Plumbean swinging in the hammock between two palm trees. They saw an alligator lying in the grass. Mr. Plumbean was drinking lemonade. So there he is in his truck, carrying all the new plants over to his house. And look at his house now. So there's the clock tower on top and all the paint, and there's his palm trees and his hammock. And who's that on the lawn? His little alligator pet. "Plumbean has gone too far. This used to be a neat street. Plumbean, what have you done to your house?" the people shouted. They're not very happy. "My house is me, and I am it. My house is where I like to be, and it looks like all my dreams," said Mr. Plumbean. The people went away. They asked the man who lived next door to Mr. Plumbean to go and have a talk with him. "Tell him that we all liked it before he changed his house. Tell him that his house has to be the same as ours, so we can have a neat street." That man went to see Mr. Plumbean that evening. They sat under the palm trees drinking lemonade and talking all night long. His alligator is sleeping on his back. I hope he's okay. It looks like he's just having a nap. Early the next morning, the man who went to talk to Mr. Plumbean went out to get lumber and rope and nails and paint. When the people came out of their houses, they saw a red and yellow ship next door to the house of Mr. Plumbean. He turned his house into a ship. "What have you done to your house?" they shouted at the man. "My house is me, and I am it. My house is where I like to be, and it looks like all my dreams," said the man, who had always loved ships. "He's just like Plumbean," the people said. "He's got bees in his bonnet, bats in his belfry, and knots in his noodle." Then one by one they went to see Mr. Plumbean late at night. They would sit under the palm trees and drink lemonade and talk about their dreams. And whenever anybody visited Mr. Plumbean's house, the very next day that person would set about changing his own house to fit his dreams. So there's the man who made his house a ship. He's wearing his captain's uniform. So here's how the street's starting to look. You can see the ship over here, and next to it now this house looks like a hot air balloon. And next to it, wow, that looks like the Taj Mahal. And over here, oh my goodness, someone made their house into a castle with a moat. And this person made it into maybe a Greek temple, sort of. All right, whenever a stranger came to the street of Mr. Plumbean and his neighbors, the stranger would say, "This is not a neat street." Then all the people would say, "Our street is us, and we are it. Our street is where we like to be, and it looks like all our dreams." So do the houses look the same anymore? No, but they all look the way that everybody in them wants them to look. And that's the end. There's Mr. Plumbean's house with his palm trees.